Hey everybody, welcome to the G. Louise book series. I'm Christina Kristina. This is where we read books, talk about books. Nothing's fancy, no special effects going on here, just reading books, talking books. And if you notice, I've started putting up the Christmas decorations. I don't decorate below here because of the cats. A couple of people have tried to walk through them and almost get hanged. So we keep them up off the floor for everybody's safety purposes and hope that they don't climb the thing. Me and my got a little Christmas going on here. I would light it up for you with the cardinals, but if you do that, then you don't see anything. So we don't light it up. So anyways, please don't forget to check out what you call it, Star Trek Next Generation Fridays. I'm a series person. I like to read series. It's a television series. You can binge watch it. You can have the character progression from episode to episode. Same thing as a book. And I believe this is JP Beaumont 15. And this is a completely out of town book. Where'd you go? She was here a second ago. Smoke. Oh, there you are. Where the heck you go? Hey. So, I believe this is 15. And this is entirely, sorry about the noise. Have to work on it. Hey, Smokey, you know what the problem is about having bins ready? Your kid's trying to get in them. She's got this thing for tinsel. Don't know. Try and keep her out of it. The entire book takes place, almost all of it, on a cruise ship. JP's grandparents or grandmother, Beverly Beaumont, has married his AA sponsor. Can you believe it? Lars. So they're going on their second honeymoon, and they want JP to chaperone. They're both almost 90. They want JP to chaperone. So he first goes on this trip on the ship, and he's got to wear these bracelets that prevent seasickness, because he's forever getting seasickness. So he meets all these people. He meets Margaret Featherman. She's a little high and mighty. Her daughter Chloe. They have a big fight initially on the ship. Mark was supposed to be eating with Chloe and her father. Her parents are divorced, and they did not know that each spouse was going to be on the ship. Harrison was the husband, or the divorced husband, was having dinner with his daughter and her associates on the ship, and Margaret was supposed to be having dinner on another level. You know, those cruise ships have dining levels all over the place. And Margaret was having dinner with her associates, and JP was part of those assigned to that table. And he didn't know anybody prior to that, and supposedly they tried to, Harrison and his group and Chloe did not know that Margaret was going to be there, but apparently Margaret knew. So there's a big blow up. Apparently it was Margaret that left the voicemail on Mark's phone telling him that dinner plans had been changed and that he was supposed to go to this deck instead of that deck and eat at this time and not that time. So this mistake was later cleared up, and it became apparent that Margaret was the one that did this. I should mention before that JP is now retired. If you had read the previous book, I think Name Withheld, his arch enemies, Paul Kramer, was promoted, and that was the last straw. That and the fact that his fourth partner died, Sue Danielson died, so that was the thing. And I will have to mention, if you can hear it, every time I do a video, that clock goes off. Every single time, regardless of the time of day, that clock goes off. it doesn't tell time, but it goes off. And one day I'm just gonna sit it right here and have it go up on video. So y'all can see it says 10 a.m. and it's been saying 10 a.m. for 20 years. It was, my mother loved that clock. She's actually, it's been dead as long as she's been dead. But she died during this period of time, and we'll talk about that with Janet. So anyway, so did that. All right. So then he's at the dinner table, and he's with he was assigned with Margaret Featherman, Naomi Pepper, Sharon Carson, and Virginia Metz. And he was assigned that table, and then Mark was the guy, and then he was the other person. So afterwards, they go to this dancing thing, and JP dutifully dances with all the people. His mother taught him how to dance, blah, blah, blah. And Virginia Metz accuses JP of being one of those people that the cruise line pays to dance with lonely or single people on the ship so they have a partner. And JP's a little offended by that. She says he must be looking for a Kruger to marry, somebody with money. And, JP's quite wealthy. He doesn't need it. So he takes offense. Then Harrison, the husband of Margaret, the one who was having dinner with Cleo, where Mark was supposed to be, he shows up, makes a big scene at the after dinner dance. Then Lars comes to him, his step grandfather comes to him and says to him that Beverly spent the previous evening in the cruise ship's casino. She was doing the one-armed bandits, and he doesn't approve of her throwing away her money. And when they did this marriage, they both agreed that they would both keep their finances separate. I mean, they're pushing 90 years old now, and they each want their children, individual children, to get what they're going to get, and they don't want the spouse, So Beverly is literally spending her own money, and this upsets Lars that she's throwing away like this. She actually did win a few dollars and came out ahead, but Lars was just upset, and they had their first fight as a married couple. So he spends the night he spends the night out on the deck, sleeping in one of those lawn chairs. Then he comes to Bo the next morning and cries, tells him what happened. So Lars wants JP to go talk to his grandmother. And JP suggests that he go buy flowers or something and go apologize. And Lars like, well, no, because I don't mean it. I really was upset with this. And JP's like, gotta compromise, So then JP runs into Mark and his friend Christine Moran, who is a journalist, and she's here covering the Harrison. There was a doctors' convention. There's this religious group that the book goes into. I won't go into it. You have to read all about it. It's this religious group that totally believes that the doctor's patients should be dead, and they're killing the doctor's patients. He performs miracles. They go on to live happy lives. And I need to don't step on my computer thing. And this group believes that these people should be dead due to their disease, and they feel the doctor's not right in saving their lives. Stuff like, it's a whole big thing you have to read about. So then JP finally goes into Beverly, and she makes this big thing about her former husband kept a tight hold on her. That's why she missed out on quite a bit of JP's life, because her first husband was a controller freak. He was probably a Virgo, don't know. And so she was really upset with Lars trying to control her. So JP tries to weather it out to get it going there, but he believes that Lars just needs to suck it up and apologize. So JP goes to have some coffee and to think and reflect. It's a really good little piece. After depositing Beverly in her cabin, I returned to mine. Lars was still sleeping, only now he was sprawled crosswise on my rumpled bed. Because of that, I didn't hang around. Instead, I went down and tried walking around on the promenade deck. When that proved to be far too wet and blustery, I went up to the Lido Ducks buffet and drowned my sorrows in a couple of cups of coffee. It turns out I did have some sorrows to drown. I've never been one for the great feats of introspection, but now retired from the Seattle PD, I found that self examination had caught up with me. I'd be fine as long as I was preoccupied with whatever going around. But as soon as I was left to my own devices, waking or sleeping, a single image invaded my mind. In my mind's eye, I would see Sue Danielson, wounded and bleeding, lying propped against the living room wall in the shattered ruins of her apartment. She would be clutching her weapon, waving me down the hallway where her ex-husband was hiding. And then moments later, I would once again be standing in the bare bones waiting room at Harborview Hospital. The doctor, still in surgical scrubs, would come through the swinging doors. He would catch my eye over the heads of Sue's two bewildered young sons and give me the sign, that slight but telling shake of his head that said that it was over. Sue Daniels hadn't made it. No matter how many times I relive those wrenching scenes, they don't get any better. I've been to the departmental shrink. Dr. Catherine Majors tells me that I'm suffering from post-traumatic stress. She claims that's why I keep having flashbacks. Not the kind of flashbacks that makes broken down vets think they're back in Nam and under attack by the Viet Cong, but close enough. Close enough to keep me from sleeping much at night. Close enough to make me wonder if I'm losing my grip. Close enough to make me postpone accepting the Eternal Jenny's offer to work on her special homicide investigation team based down in Olympia. It's not as if this kind of stuff has happened to me before. I was there years ago when Ron Peters was hurt and later on Big Al Lindstrom got shot. But these incidents didn't affect me quite the same way. Ron may be confined to a wheelchair now, but he's reclaimed his life. He has his daughters Heather and Tracy and a new wife, and now Ron is Peters' proud father of a recently arrived son who also happens to be my namesake. As a result of his injuries, Big Al Lindstrom was forced to take retirement. As far as I can tell, he and his wife Molly are both enjoying the hell out of it. That was just a little, I like that little reflective thing. So then Naomi comes when he's having the coffee, and she thinks JP is a fortune hunter, is the dance host, like they said. And her husband died of liver cancer, and then he says about Karen dying of the cancer, and they bond a little bit. And then Margaret Featherman joins them and has a big scene. And then Lars joins them. Lars tells him he had a phone call, but no message. Mark Alley calls him, tells him Dr. Featherman fired him. And then JP buys some cruise pictures, and Lars again thinks he's wasting the money. I think you should buy those cruise pictures. They're memories. I mean, all right, when this was done, there was no cell phones. But today, I wish like crazy that I had more pictures from my childhood, more Polaroids. But we didn't take them as much then. Cell phones, I take dozen pictures every single effing day. But 20 years ago, I didn't have a cell phone, and I couldn't take a dozen pictures each day. And I wish I did, because then I would have more pictures of people that mean a lot to me and who have since deceased. Sorry to go there. So they Margaret was supposed to join them from dinner that night, and she doesn't. Naomi gets to spend some time with JP, and then the next day they go ashore, and Dr. Featherman comes to tell him that his wife is missing. And Naomi says she saw Margaret yesterday and that they had words, and she confesses to JP that up to years ago, her husband was sterile and could not have children, and she used Margaret's husband as a sperm donor and had her daughter with, and her Margaret just found out yesterday, and they don't know how she found out, but it will eventually be revealed in the book. So Margaret goes disappearing, and then they, on the next day, they go. JP and Lars go to an AA meeting because they're both having issues, especially Lars with the fight with Beverly. And at the AA meeting, this lady Lucy tells that her husband has very severe Alzheimer's, and that one of the channels on the TV was showing glimpses of outside the ship, and her husband Mike purported to seeing a lady fall overboard. JP investigates and determines that the lady that fell over was Margaret. So then they start a search, and JP meets a whole bunch of apparently there's an investigation going on into that religious group I previously mentioned about killing people that they thought didn't deserve to live, even though the doctor had cured them, or whatever miracle he did to them in surgery. And he feels, this group feels that these people don't deserve to live, and they need to die as God had planned them to die. So then Beverly and Lars babysit for Lucy one night so she can go out, and it gives Lars heart-wrenching because he remembers that's what his previous wife died of, was Alzheimer's. And having had a relative die of Alzheimer's myself, and she forgot, not only did she forget who I was and who her family was, but she forgot how to eat. She forgot how to chew, how to swallow. In the very early, well, not the early stages, but the end stages, they call it, she would reach for the food. They would always give her finger food because she was completely eating with her hands at that point, was unable to use utensils. She'd reach for it and forget what she was reaching for, even though it was in front of her, even though she could see it. She still forgot and sat back. She wasn't drinking much, she wasn't eating much, and as days went on, she would forget how to chew, forget how to swallow. And because of her situation and where she was, they did not IV fluids, they did not insure it, they did not nothing, and she literally starved to death. And because on one hand you think that she was completely unaware of the situation, so she probably didn't suffer, but you, the family member, had to watch it happen and you suffered. So there are two sides to that coin. And I have another family member in a similar situation, but she's still home. She's physically disaster area, but she's okay. But mentally, she's more home than my other relative was. She's also in a home, but they have people taking care of her. If she gets low on fluids, they give her the IVs, they give her the insure. She still knows who her family is, so she's got it better. She's 20 years older than my relative who just died the other day, but she's still got it upstairs. She's still on the active side. Whereas my other relative was starved to death, I mean, completely 100% gone by the time she died. So I've been there, done that, and it's heart-wrenching. So just a little bit on the inside with that. JP and Mark get into it. Then the FBI agents that are undercover that were trying to investigate the religious group come to him. So they have it out. And Naomi and JP get closer. She also confesses later on that Harrison had been giving her money during her lean years, giving her cash. She moves her girlfriend. She tells her girlfriends who did not know the group she was staying with, and they kick her out of the room. So she goes to stay with JP. So her and JP grow closer. JP contacts Ralph because Naomi may potentially need an attorney if things go south with Margaret. He has breakfast with Lars later, and a whole bunch of personal stuff is revealed by Lars and his background. Then they go on an excursion off the cruise ship, and one thing leads to another. They're going through a tunnel. Mark is taking pictures. He gets pushed, and someone else falls over, and there's a whole mystery: who done it, who pushed, who did this, who did that. It's whole. JP is defending the person up, down, sideways, six way, back way to front, and then there's a twist at the end at the last minute. You're like, oh shoot, and it's twisted. So then JP gets the person an attorney, and then when the pictures show up proving the person did it, he's got a little egg on his face, but he does understand the situation. So we have two murders. We have Margaret, potentially Margaret. There is some twists and turns there. She fell overboard. What happened to her? Where's her body? They were close enough to shore. They had stopped to watch some whales. So what happened to her? Where's her body? You know, stuff going on there. What happened with the guy that fell off the train? There's stuff going on there. And then Beverly's been making new friends, and her new friends go to the gym, and she falls and hits her head, black eye, on the treadmill. She's 86 years old. She shouldn't be doing this stuff. JP lets into her. He's a rotten grandson because he cares about her, and he lets into her like he would to a kid. And Naomi comes in and goes, oh, poor Beverly, you okay? He's just rotten. So JP's got egg on his face twice. You won't see the ending coming. It's twists and turns. We learn a whole bunch about Lars and his past, and he knows people who know people, and they're able to discover what really happened to Margaret, what really happened to Mike, who saw the murder, who saw Margaret go overboard. There's a whole investigation going on. Who on board is really with that religious group? There's a whole big thing. So please check it out. Birds of Prey. And please, I forgot to mention this previously, but I do have this fantasy of having 1,000 subscribers by Christmas. I know I probably won't get there, but I was kind of hoping you'd give it a try. You're the only one that can do it for me. There isn't anybody else. I thank the 140 people that have currently subscribed, and if you could please spread the word, I need 900 more. It'd be most appreciative. And as I go on, you'll see my tree, because this is where my tree goes. So please hit the like and subscribe. And are you going to come say hi? Are you going to come say hi to Mommy? Nope, she's going to go over there. So anyways, please hit the like and subscribe. I thank you very much for tuning in, and have a good one.